Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Disney's live-action reimagining of The Little Mermaid. Now get in here, because we mustn't lurk in doorways. It's rude. Welcome again to the Geekcentric podcast, where we've got who's its and what's its galore, and we know that, darling, it's better down where it's wetter. We're so glad to have you on board. My name is Kev, and as I said, we hope to make a splash with our spoiler-free review for The Little Mermaid. We want to clap our fins and give a special thanks, as always, to our friends at Disney Studios Canada for letting us watch this project early for review. If you're joining us for the first time, well, we're Geekcentric, a podcast focusing on the world of movies, TV shows, games, toys, and collectibles, and all things geekcentric. Now, joining me today to make some waves, they are definitely not guppies. They're the Flounder and Sebastian to my Ariel. They're the Max and Grimsby to my Prince Eric. The Flotsam and Jetsam to my Ursula. It's Justin Lawrence and Nate Shelton. Hello, my babies. How are you today, poopsies?
I'm a merman, Daddy. I'm a merman. Kevin, that raspiness in your voice, I'm loving it. It's getting my dingle.
It's very Ursula.
I know,
very
it
Ursula.
Yeah,
You brought the Ursula voice for sure. Yeah,
but I will apologize to the audience. I recently survived 5 long days and 5 long forbidden nights in Vegas with my wife Sarah. So I'm honestly just happy to be here, and I would love to tell you all about the trip, but as you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Thankfully.
But yeah, so how are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Good, man.
Doing well.
Wet. Very wet.
Oh, God. Just
boy.
Stop. Might as well just have Kevin tell us about his Vegas trip.
Speaking of wet.
Oh, man.
I'm good.
I'm our fins.
Yeah, I'm very excited to chat about this movie. I think surprises and delights. Let me just say that. There's definitely a lot to share with the listeners in regards to what we're surprised with. So, and we have barely really talked about it as a group, the three of us who saw
I always like to do that, though. I like to save as many of our thoughts and whatnot for the podcast so we can have a genuine, organic discussion. Now, Nate said something about flipping our fins, and that don't get you too far. So I think we should move right along. We're about to talk about a live-action reimagining of a beloved animated classic that should need absolutely no introduction, but in case you've been adrift at sea or have been left high and dry on some deserted island since the mid-'80s, here's a brief description of the upcoming nautical adventure. Crashing into theaters on May 26th, The Little Mermaid is the beloved story of Ariel, a beautiful and spirited young mermaid with a thirst for adventure. The youngest of King Triton's daughters and the most defiant, Ariel longs to find out more about the world beyond the sea, and while visiting the surface, falls for the dashing Prince Eric. While mermaids are forbidden to interact with humans, Ariel must follow her heart. She makes a deal with the evil sea witch Ursula, which gives her a chance to experience life on land, but ultimately places her life and her father's crown in jeopardy. The movie includes new versions of all your favorite songs, plus some new future classics by the king of Disney music these days, Lin-Manuel Miranda. The film is directed by visionary filmmaker Rob Marshall and stars Halle Bailey, Jonah Hauer-King, Daveed Diggs, Awkwafina, Noma Dumezweni, Art Malik, Javier Bardem, Melissa McCarthy, and Jacob Tremblay. But before we get to our thoughts on the movie, and speaking of Jacob Tremblay, who plays Flounder in the film, you gents had the chance to attend the blue carpet Canadian premiere of the movie, which included an appearance by Jacob himself. I would love for you to tell us a little about that event.
Yeah, well, it was held here in Toronto. It was, as you said, the blue carpet Canadian premiere event. It was held at the TIFF Lightbox. This was great. This was such a cool opportunity. Again, we're so humbled at the chances we get, thanks to our friends at Disney Studios Canada, who invited us to this event along with the rest of the press. It was a really surreal experience. It happens really quickly. I know I can speak for both Nate and I, where I can say, we were very humbled with the time that we had with Jacob, and to also just connect with other peers and other press in the community of Toronto. It's a really great opportunity to get our name out there and for us to learn a little bit more about who else is out there. So yeah, it was a great experience.
It was cool to be a part of that. It was my first time on a press line specifically, and getting to hang out with our friends from the movie podcast and One Take News. It was really, really cool. And yeah, I think, yes, it's very quick, like 2 questions. But it was, this guy's, he's grown up so much. Like, it's so weird.
He's
to talk to
unrecognizable
He's got such a
in the
deep
pictures.
voice.
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude. Crazy. But he was looking super sharp. And we got to ask him some fun questions, which will, I guess, be up on our socials.
Awesome. I got to say, I'm a little disappointed nobody wore like a snorkel or even like a billowy, like pirate-style Prince Eric shirt. But no.
Kev, if you wear an open chest shirt, I'll take you to any of these things. I promise.
I promise you I will. Even if it's like not appropriate for the movie, I'm just going to do it now for fun. maybe just like a nice like dress vest, but with no shirt underneath. I'll really let that chest hair fly. But enough about my chest hair. Let's get to our thoughts on this reimagined Disney classic. Just why don't you start us off? What was something that really stood out for you?
Well, I think you said it right there. The reimagining of this classic. Disney has masterfully recreated beautiful moments from the animated movie of The Little Mermaid and have brought new life into them in this live action adaptation. I think the filmmakers have captured the essence of the original animated film while adding a fresh and immersive dimension to the story. There are some new elements. They do go a little bit different. So this whole notion of Disney reimagining their own version of the story, it hasn't always worked. I think in some cases it's fallen short of expectations and maybe played it too close to the original. I think here it's the best of both. That it is very paint by numbers for most of the moments and scenes that you are iconic from the original animated movie, but then there's some new stuff. And I think it's Disney's commitment to preserving the magic of the original while also embracing the possibilities of live action as resulted in this film. I think that this is what it does really well. It captures the hearts of both new and longtime fans of The Little Mermaid. So yeah, that's, I think, right out the gate is one thing that really worked for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I don't think I'm the biggest fan of these Disney live action remakes, and it seems like after each one that keeps releasing, I get my hype up and I get excited for it, and then it just really doesn't get there. And it's weird too, because oftentimes when we go into these movies, we see the trailers, we see the casting, and I'm like, okay, I think they finally figured it out. I think they finally figured out how to do something a little more fresh instead of just banking on nostalgia. But that isn't the case with what's come before, at least recently. But at least with this one, I actually do think this totally works. Rob Marshall, David McGee did a great job at giving me a reason, and this was kind of the biggest thing for me. Give me a reason to choose between the original 1989 film and this new adaptation. And while I don't think this is perfect, and I still think there's some missed opportunities, they managed to update some really important aspects of the movie that actually improve upon the original.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to mention. You look at something like Favreau's Lion King from a few years back, and it's a beautiful film, and the voice cast is great, but it is literally beat for beat the same movie. And I think a lot of people go, why is this even necessary? And while I don't think that the argument is fair that, they're trying to replace the classics. No. It's not meant to replace them. They're both still allowed to exist, and you're allowed to watch both. Either you're allowed to like one and not the other. It's totally up to you. But this one does bring fresh aspects. I think one of those elements that I really, really appreciated was the film really helps to bolster and expand upon the connection between Eric and Ariel, which is kind of lacking in the original animated film. You don't really, other than, she's a pretty girl, you don't really understand why they sort of fall for each other, where there's such a great job of showing how they could fall in love with each other, especially considering they can't talk to each other. There's so many elements that they sort of add to this film in these new scenes and moments that you're talking about that really go, oh my goodness, you can feel their connection without them saying it to each other. And so I thought that was a really great aspect.
Yeah, really embraced the romantic story element and I think fleshed out Prince Eric's character far more. And I think creating a parallel between Ariel's desire and his desire and how they have common ground. And I think that's one of the best aspects to this latest adaptation is fleshing out more of a meaningful relationship between these two characters. To your point, though, in the animated, Ariel's definitely perceived as like sort of a bit of a damsel in distress, and I think here they're both seen as equals and both individuals who desire more. And I think that really does get explored a lot more in these new scenes. And like you mentioned at the top, we do get 3 new songs, and one of those songs is a song sung by Prince Eric, and that very much feels like a juxtaposed ballad to Part of Your World, which serves to anchor their relationship as being more meaningful, and them sharing more common ground, even though one lives under the sea and the other lives above land. So
yeah, between King Triton and Queen Selena, Noma Doomsweni's character, I like how they gave us. It wasn't too much. It wasn't a ton of exposition, but they gave us just enough exposition to understand the opposing cultures of the mer people and the humans. And I really appreciated that because, again, as you said, it not only adds to the movie in general, but it adds to the relationship between Ariel and Prince Eric, and why it's more important than just 2 hotties falling in love.
Exactly. It serves purpose for a better future, right? It's very much that. So
it's not just Ariel going, "Oh, he's handsome," and him saying, "Oh, she's beautiful," and in the animated movie, they kind of make her out to seem like a bit of a dummy. You know what I mean? Because she's just sort of so unaccustomed to this world.
A damsel in distress.
And she comes out to all these people as looking kind of, let's say, naive. Whereas here she's literally, without even being able to talk to him, she's teaching Eric things along the way. Yes. And he's showing her this new world. It's really
full
awesome.
Of surprises.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now
they're both full of surprises.
You mentioned, speaking of new, that there were 3 new songs, and one is the most Lin-Manuel Miranda song that you will ever hear in your life.
Yeah, I want to mention the music. I think. I think the Lin-Manuel Miranda editions will either work or won't work for people. I think it's going to be based on your taste for his style of music. As I keep thinking about Scuttlebutt, I'm enjoying it more and more, oddly enough. But I will say the reason, the main reason that you watch this movie is all Halle Bailey. She brings a new voice to the song with her intonation. And Justin you and I were talking about this right after we left the theater, and just some of the way we were literally listening to Part of Your World like on repeat as we were driving home that evening, and just some of the ways she uses the intonation in the words to change it up. There's a word she says where she says free, and she just does it in a way that you can tell that Ariel just wants that freedom so much. And listen, I know we were in a press screening. And if you love a quiet theater, Darcy says he loves press screenings because nobody talks or hollers or hoots like in a Marvel movie. But it's so hard to get a reaction out of the press audience. But when we got to that moment at the end of Part of Your World, there was like an energy in the room, and Halle Bailey just had everyone mesmerized. And honestly, like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Like, she was perfect.
Well, and you mentioned, intonation on some of the words in those songs that we're also familiar with. And I kind of like how they changed up the way some of the words were said, that it felt like she was singing this from the heart. It wasn't a rehearsed song that she had sung so many times. This was, and it was so brilliant the way they used that intonation to make those songs feel like they were coming to them in the moment. And these are some of the most classic, beloved, I'm going to say that a lot, I think, today, animated Disney songs in history, and they made them feel just different enough, just fresh enough that they're new songs, they're new versions of those songs that can stand alone on their own without necessarily needing to be compared to the older versions. They are their own versions, and they're great in themselves. I thought I didn't think it was going to work. Under the Sea, I thought, oh man, how are they going to do this live action? Are they going to take it too seriously? And they made it just playful enough, just realistic enough. That's such a fine line and hard line to sort of find a balance between. And I thought they did it so well.
Yeah, like I think, Nate, when we were talking about it on the way back, it was like talk singing or acting singing, I think, is even better, as we've kind of been discussing here, is that, you know, there's a level of acting that's going into the performance that she's delivering that feels, you know, very much connected to the heart of the person that she's playing. But another element to this paint by numbers, or, you know, emulating the success of the original, is bringing back Alan Menken to score this movie with Lin-Manuel Miranda's new lyrical composition. I think that really works well. But, you know, again, as you said, Nate, Halle Bailey just took this performance to a whole new level. And I'm just going to right here transition into actors, because Halle Bailey, her performance in The Little Mermaid is an absolute revelation. From the moment she graces the screen as Ariel, it becomes abundantly clear that she was born to bring this classic character to life. Bailey's portrayal is a perfect blend of vulnerability, strength, and youthful innocence, capturing the essence of the beloved mermaid princess, while also having a captivating authenticity. I think her expressive eyes and her enchanting voice effortlessly draw you into the world.
I just can't stop thinking about the moment when the puffer fish is there and she makes the puffer fish face. I'm just like, I'm in love.
But like the thing is that her performance is so deep that it allows us to experience her longing, her curiosity, and determination on a profound level. Like, Bailey's undeniable talent shines through every scene, making her rendition of Ariel a true standout and ensuring that she will forever be etched in the hearts of audiences. I think, in all honesty, she could get nominated for an Oscar for this role. I think that that's how good it is. I think she'll definitely be considered. I honestly do think so. I think that this is top tier Hollywood acting.
My only complaint, and this has nothing to do with Halle, her hair isn't red enough. Like, I needed a bit more red vibrancy to that hair. That's such a signature look, and there's hints of it there, but like, I loved everything about her look, the way they made the live action mermaid and everything like that, and they changed up the outfits from the cartoon. They didn't just remake those and plop her in the same type of dress or anything like that. I just wish the hair was a bit more
I think
I don't know. But maybe
I think
trying
it's
to be
more
a
or less
little bit more realistic or something, you know, I don't know.
Well, this is more realistic, I think, because I think in the right light, it does come off really, really red, right? It's probably not like the red that you're thinking from the original anime that's red, but it's like more of a redhead. It's like, it's more, there's an orangey
auburn
tinge to it at times. Yeah, it's very, and it feels a lot more natural. It still feels like it's its own part of her character, but I love that it didn't even matter. It was how heartfelt her performance was throughout this entire movie that helps to really anchor her as this new Ariel.
And then I thought her chemistry with Kevin Jonas, or I should say Jonah Hauer King, because all I could think that whole movie is that guy looks like Kevin Jonas. I thought they had really good chemistry. At first, I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but by the end, I believed them so much. And I think they did such a great job of all of the characters who interacted with Ariel having these different, unique relationships. David as Sebastian is just that is probably the hardest character to take on, because you don't want to just copycat it the whole way. You need to pay homage but make it your own, and he did that so well.
Yeah, I think he does enough different from the original Samuel E. Wright performance, but it very much still has the exact energy of this character,
and inflection,
and the character, you can feel the weight on his shell,
the worry. Man,
he's got like it's basically the entire plot is riding on Sebastian, and I couldn't stop smiling anytime he would just say something. I think David Diggs was so excellent. He's instantly likable as his character. I loved him.
Yeah, he was outstanding as well. I think the thing that I like about his portrayal is that, like you said, Nate, it was different enough, but it still was very similar in some ways to the original voice actor, Samuel E. Wright. And I think David Diggs, he very much had the same inflection. He even animated his voice at specific times in very similar ways that served as these loving callbacks to the original that I absolutely adored. And then the things that he would throw in on his own were just so good, and it made it very contemporary at the same time, right? Like it updated it in a lot of ways, and I really love that. And Flounder, Jacob Tremblay was good. I think he was.
I felt like we didn't get enough of him.
We didn't get enough of him. That's what I was going to say.
We were saying after the movie, Flounder, you can only do so much with the character, the one character that has to be under the water the whole movie, right?
Yeah,
so much,
that's
especially in this version, even more takes place, on the shore.
That is true.
You can only see him so much. And I thought they brought him back throughout the film enough times that he still stands out. You can tell that he's Ariel's best friend. And thank goodness, aesthetically, it is not those early concepts we got. Children be having nightmares for weeks.
He's got the cute little like tuft of hair. I don't know how fish have hair, but it was
cool.
cute. And I think Sebastian's eyes were very expressive. I thought they had a lot of fun with the three of them. I think Awkwafina also was great as Scuttle. And kudos to Jacob Tremblay, by the way, for singing alongside, it's people like Daveed Diggs and Halle Bailey. Like, that's not at 12 years old, that is very daunting. So he was right to be nervous for it. But I think
he had
did
experience.
a great job, and I think they all did good.
He had experience from Luca.
Right. I guess, yeah. But
I just want to come back and circle back here. I think with Tremblay as Flounder, underutilized, but makes sense for this live action adaptation. But I do like, again, very much a character that I think in this movie calls back to the original, that sort of, naive, kiddish, younger brother sort of voice. He owned that and he played it really, really well. But the look, like we were talking about, the look of these characters through CGI, I actually thought it was really going to bother me. It didn't. I think it actually works. You just can't look at them as stills, because when you look at them as stills, they are what they are. But when they're animated, and when you see them moving, and you see the sort of inflections in the eyes and the sort of wiggles and stuff like that, it really does come to life, and it really does make sense. Because again, it's a live action adaptation or a reimagining of them. They're not going to have the same sort of cartoony features, right? They are going to look more live action, and I appreciated at least that they tried to keep that level of authenticity to it.
But it was a cool balance between having them be able to fit into a live action world, but still feeling fun and a little cartoony, right? Now, speaking of, we've talked about paying homage to classic characters. We've talked about great singing performances, and we've talked about the aesthetics. I think all three of those are perfectly encapsulated by Melissa McCarthy as Ursula.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she killed it. I mean, and the thing too is, I think the biggest thing that I found was her physicality. The way she would move, her Ursula-isms, if you will,
slinking over rocks and
were phenomenal. The makeup, the hair, the wig, all of it was absolutely fantastic. I was so happy with her portrayal. There's a really funny, just little body thing that she did. Well, I guess her animators did, but where she's crossing her legs, but she's crossing all 8 of her tentacles or 6 of her. I don't know how many tentacles they have, but it was. I think she absolutely.
Nate.
It's an octopus, right? So 8 tentacles. Thank you. But no, I think there's still a universe out there where Jack Black should have played Ursula, but I think
it would have been amazing.
I was saying that right up until we saw it, and then she sold me.
But you know what, though? Honestly, Melissa McCarthy's performance is outstanding. And I think that it matches that of Halle Bailey's performance of Ariel. It has its own unique characteristics that are very personal to McCarthy's portrayal. She has such comedic prowess, and she's undeniably versatile with the way she can kind of be funny and then be dark at the same time. It's a refreshing interpretation of the character. I think her comedic timing was spot on, and she helped to kind of make Ursula that much more funny, and she owned those singing moments, like Poor Unfortunate Souls. Oh my God, she did such a good job in that performance. So I honestly think, again, I could see her being nominated for Best Supporting Actress, right? Would she win? Probably not, but I think the nomination is deserving. At times when you watch her performance, this is where it felt like it was a live action play. In certain instances, just because
the
of that
and everything.
Yeah, but also just the performativeness of it, just that ability of, like you said, her movement, her motion, the way she slinks around, right? The way she uses her body as this element, as a part of her persona. I thought it was so good, and I just wish there was more of her.
I mean, it's funny because you get less of her in her non Ursula form, if you will. So at least with the time that they had with her, they focused it on her being Ursula and not, the Prince Eric decoy, if you will.
Yes.
Moving on from character performances, I do want to say how beautiful this film looks, especially
Gorgeous.
during the underwater numbers. I couldn't tell from the trailer whether it was going to work, whether it was going to look. If it was going to be effective, the underwater look. I thought it almost didn't look like they were swimming in some of the quick shots we got, some of the early footage.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. I mean, any underwater scene here looked better than any of the underwater scenes in Black Panther, in my opinion.
Oh, well, I was gonna say, I was gonna say, like, we haven't gotten to see. I don't think we've seen this level of fidelity, camera work. Again, I understand it's all in a digital world, but it's so gorgeous, it's so colorful, and I think it's not easy. It's not easy to pull this off. And they did, and I mean they'd have to, based on this movie being The Little Mermaid. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing if we ever get any other more underwater movies from Disney. I can only imagine it going up from here.
Well, it's interesting too because I don't know how much of this was actually filmed on a
underwater
water tank set, very much like Avatar, right? So
okay.
I think it was probably a lot of green screen and moving around so that they had the freedom, and it was just about animating them in post. But yeah, as you guys are saying, the visual effects like literally will transport you into vibrant, mesmerizing underwater worlds where every creature, every wave, and every ray of light it feels real and tangible. It actually, like, I was really surprised at how well the visual effects worked for me. I think the attention to detail was outstanding. It was intricate. You could even see it in the way that with the depiction of like the mermaids and their tails. I believe the city's called Atlantica. I think that was like that palace-esque style.
That was such a cool, instead of a physical, like, man-made castle under the sea, it was such a cool, realistic interpretation of that. Like, just those little details were so brilliant.
Yeah. But then, the crashing water, each of the snapping turtles, all the different fish and jellyfish, like, everything was really handled with a lot of care and love. And I think that it's clear in the visual effects that they really wanted to bring this movie to life in the most visually stunning way.
Now, I think we can, we love the character performances, we love the visuals, we love the music. Was there anything that didn't quite work for anyone? Nate?
Well, I think as great as the visuals were under the sea, I think that's where the budget went, because there is a sequence which I won't spoil. I mean, how can you spoil it? It's The Little Mermaid. But there's a sequence at the end during the climax that you can tell that they had to make it as dark as an episode of Game of Thrones to hide the really rough CG that's going on. And I think that was probably the only moment visually that didn't work for me.
The final act has some CGI sloppiness that really does, I think, in some ways take you out. It's a shame that it's so influential towards the climactic moment of the movie. But that said, I think the positives of where, as Nate said, where they did put their budget in the underwater, that did pay off. That does stick with me a lot more. So I could give it a pass for it, but it's just it was messy. I'm worried it'll take people right out.
The whole climax, I thought, sort of left a little bit to be desired. After everything, like, I'm just...
And it was a rush. It was a rush to get there.
Yeah, it was sort of just went, okay, we got to wrap this sucker up, so let's do it in 5 minutes, and the CG's going to be weak.
It did feel like 5 minutes. It was probably 15, but it felt like
it
5.
It felt like 5
so
minutes.
Quick.
Well, things started to fall into place at a specific point where it was like, okay, now we're back at where how the movie sort of wraps up, but then it's even more condensed. Like it was
probably the only part of the movie. It was probably the only part of this version of the movie that I didn't like more than the original.
The final act, final act did suffer the most. Yeah.
Yep. And one other thing that I wanted to point out was as great as most of the performances were. No, I thought Awkwafina was great, and I don't say that very often. Good. I thought she was great. I dug
yeah, exactly. That's what I was going. I was thinking.
I know.
No,
and I should be complaining about my guy Lin-Manuel Miranda, but no, his song, she did it well. I thought I had a lot of fun with it. It was silly. No, I thought Javier as King Triton was probably the least whelming of the performances. He
had its
felt a little
moments.
flat.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think he had the intensity when he needed to, but there was. I think he was playing this like this regal character too much. Do you know what I mean? Like I think he leaned way too much, and it. To your point, it flattened his character. It made him looked a little come off a little more deflated, and especially given the fact of how important his story is in relation to Ariel's story, he sort of felt sidelined. Like not purposely. I think. Based on his performance.
Well, and that's the only other thing I think, my list for what didn't work is nowhere near as long as what did, but I think that was the only other thing for me that I found I appreciated more time with Eric and Ariel together. I appreciated the additional context that they gave us with between the people from under the sea and the human world. I just thought that if we were going to take any risks with this movie, it was going to be giving us more time with those characters under the sea. You've got Javier Bardem, and he's really not utilized that much. I think they did. This is where they sort of played it a lot more safe, sticking to the source material. And I listen. I love what they did with like Maleficent or Cruella, giving new life to those worlds. And I'm not saying that this should have been an Ursula movie, but I think they could have done a little bit more. Although that would have been cool, an Ursula movie. I think that they could have done a little bit more to make an adjustment to the structure of the narrative to help other aspects of family and fatherhood stand out just a smidgen more. Because again, I understand it's about her freedom, it's about her relationship with Eric, and I'm glad that they brought those points up. But I think the ending would have been much more impactful, for me at least, if we had gotten maybe a little more screen time with King Triton.
Now you just have to remember, who are they making this for? A 30-year-old
Right.
man, or are they making this
Exactly.
for a whole
I
new
understand.
generation of little girls and boys to have this brave character finding her voice and finding her will to be free and to follow her dreams. So while I understand that, from an overall aspect of fine filmmaking, you could have really delved into these characters and the relationships to strengthen the movie. I think where the focus went really did bolster what this movie is about and who the true targeted audience really is.
Yeah, if it was having to choose, they made the right choice.
They
Absolutely.
did, yeah, for sure. I think the reality is that if you start to add the father element to the story, which would make it different, I think you're going about over 2.5, like close to 2.5 hours, because this movie's already long. I think at about just over 2 hours.
Well, Justin,
right?
if they're going to win Oscars, it needs to be
No,
4 hours.
I
long.
guarantee you.
At least,
I guarantee you. But to the point of what you were saying, there was an opportunity there. Could have been explored. That could have been that could have been how they could have gone further with making this movie that much different.
Mm-hmm.
But to Kevin's point, it has to be. It has to be that tangible success that is very much mirrored from the success of the animated. Because I know all three of us are huge fans of the animated, and even though we're three dudes, we've watched that movie more times probably than other movies from when we were.
Dude,
right?
Ariel's
When we
a
were younger,
collector.
so-
We're
I know.
geeks. We collect
Exactly.
like that.
There you go.
She's her
I can't relate with a
spirit
character
animal,
more.
absolutely. All right. I know we're on a roll, but I think it's time to give our final thoughts and scores on the film.
Sorry,
today,
1 second. On a roll. Remind me. I know we just said we like the film so much. Where's that? Which part is that?
That's Ursula. She's on a
Ursula?
roll.
Okay.
Hey, boys, I'm on a roll. When she's
okay.
getting... Oh, yeah. Oh, that one slipped through, eh? Oh, a deep cut. Deep cut.
Slip through like an octopus.
There we go.
On a roll.
Yeah, so you know
I get
now.
you.
There
I
we go.
get you. I
Okay,
get you.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta
Maybe I
rewatch
didn't do a good enough job, I guess. It's my Daniel Craig impression all over again. Today, we are going to be giving our final thoughts and scores out of 5 gadgets and gizmos aplenty. And now, as we give our final thoughts and scores, I'd also like to know where this ranks for you amongst the Disney live-action reimaginings that we've been getting for the last decade or so. Was it the best, maybe top 3, or was it closer to the bottom, or even, dare I say it, worse than Pinocchio? Justin, why don't you start us off? I don't think that's happening. Justin, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I honestly think The Little Mermaid is a huge win for me. This live action adaptation is, as we were talking, just it's so captivating, it's enchanting, and it successfully brings the beloved animated classic into the live action world. You know, as we were talking about, you know, Halle Bailey's performance as Ariel is nothing short of mesmerizing. She effortlessly embodies the spirit of the iconic character and captures her curiosity, determination, the grace. It's all with massive authenticity. Her vocals are stunning. Like Nate said, that moment of watching her sing Part of Your World was so emotional. I got teary-eyed. You know, her vocals show her emotional depth, and it shines through in a very heartfelt way with all the renditions of the songs. And she's still giving that fresh twist with that conversational singing that she's implementing, the cracks. It feels unique to Halle Bailey, and I love that. But the same can be said about the entire cast as well. Melissa McCarthy, Daveed Diggs, and Jacob Tremblay. They brought in some new with the old, and I really did enjoy all their performances, and the look for each of these characters was outstanding. I think the transition of The Little Mermaid from animation to live action is flawlessly executed, and as we were talking about the visual effects, they're just so mesmerizing. I think the film strikes a delicate balance between honoring the original film while also introducing new elements, creating visually stunning experiences that fully immerse the audience in this magical realm of The Little Mermaid. You know, the live action adaptation successfully captures all of what we love about the original and delivering a heartfelt, visually dazzling reimagining that will surely captivate audiences, new and old, of all ages. I'm giving this one 4 out of 5 gadgets and gizmos aplenty.
Oh.
And I would probably say if we're thinking about all the live action movies that are coming out, you know, I really do love Pete's Dragon. I think that one was a surprise hitter for me. But in regards to like this era of where Little Mermaid comes from, so Aladdin, you know, is in my mind
from
is
that
kind of
Disney Renaissance period
exactly,
of the late 80s
that period,
to the mid 90s.
Yes, exactly that. Maybe even Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella to a certain degree. I know that's even older, but you know, Lion King, all of these ones that are more of that time period. I think this is the best one. I think it actually very well captures what Disney's trying to do by reimagining their versions of this story, bringing it to live action in a unique way that still honors, you know, what makes the animated special by reinvigorating something new so that it can be relatable for audiences. Because let's be real. I think in a lot of ways Disney is looking back at some of those animated things, and yes, they're capitalizing on the nostalgia and the fan bases, but I also think they're seeing it as an opportunity to retell that story that makes sense for today rather than when it was told originally. And I think that's a big reason as well for them wanting to take a new approach with everything that they've been doing in the live action. So this is the success of what has come before it. You know what I mean? The sort of stumbles, if you will. So yes, this is one of the best live action adaptations to date.
Oh, that's awesome. Nate, how about yourself?
Yeah, this movie surprised me. New experience with these characters, a story that gives me a reason to watch it over the original. Halle Bailey is perfect as Ariel. She's so bright. She's so wonderful in this movie. She's such a positive representation for a generation of young girls and young women who don't get to see themselves in these roles. And, you know, I think the additional cast, Sebastian was stealing scenes with each claw left and right. And I still think they played it a little bit too safe. The slight changes that they made to make better Ariel and Eric's relationship, the added context of why their families are at odds, were very welcome and do make the movie better overall. So while I'd still say that the music and Halle's voice, especially, is the reason to buy a ticket, I do think this is one of Disney's best adaptations of their animated line of films. And I hope that Disney continues to make broader changes to its source material when they decide to breathe new life into their stories going forward. But this one was just so lovely, so delightful. So I'm stoked to give this one a solid 4 out of 5 gadgets and gizmos aplenty. As far as where I'm going to be ranking it or rating it on the list of live action, according to Wikipedia, I've got a list in front of me here. I think this the way that this movie does enough different for me to think about it as a different movie than the original reminded me a lot of Aladdin. And I think this is a better movie than Aladdin. I would put Aladdin in probably my top 3 spot. I think this is better than that. I still really, really love what they did with Cruella in 2021. So I still think that's at the top of my list. I had so much fun with that movie. But I think this is number 2 for me for sure.
Isn't Cruella more of like a Batman Begins kind of thing, where it's like an origin story?
I'm just going off the list from Wikipedia, Justin.
Is it a reimagining? I'll allow it.
Well, okay, then it's my number 1 of the straight from the whatever era you guys were talking about.
I like you including that because it's the reasons you love that one so much are the reasons that this one just stopped a little bit short of maybe being perfect for you, right? And so it makes sense to include that in the discussion. For myself, considering The Little Mermaid is one of my all-time favorite Disney cartoons, my mom tells the story constantly that I dragged her to theaters 4 times to see this movie as a 4-year-old kid. It was the first movie I can remember seeing in theaters, and I took her to see it 4 times in theaters. So this just holds such a special place in my heart. I never really thought about it the way when you brought it up that she's a collector. Maybe it was just subconsciously my connection to Ariel. That and that's the reason. Who knows? Maybe she's the reason I'm a collector to this day.
You're welcome.
But I was just so surprised how well this film worked for me. I just thought, I don't know, I'm sure it'll be fine. And as the movie progressed, 5, 10, 20 minutes in, I was going, oh man, I am enjoying this. This is working really, really well for me for all the reasons we just talked about. The music, the reimagining of the music, the characters, adding new elements to those characters and the music. The visuals are beautiful. They're colorful. They're vibrant. The sweeping camera work. You just get swept away in this movie, almost like you're at sea, floating along with the tide. And it just really, really works for me. And that's why, for me, it is my favorite of the recent reimaginings. I just think because it pays such great tribute to the original, but makes itself stand alone as its own story, with its own versions of the characters and the story being told. I just think it's the most successful of these endeavors for them, and that's what I really liked. And I instead of repeating why I love this movie so much, because we've said so much, I'll just get on my soapbox here for a sec and say to the Disney go woke, go broke bullshit crowd, this movie is the perfect reason for casting a film the way they did. They didn't recast with people of color in roles that are traditionally a white character. It's a freaking mermaid we're talking about here. They didn't do it just for the sake of it. They found the best possible actors and actresses to fill these roles, and that was where the decision was made. And because it works so well, like you said, Nate, this shares this story with a whole new audience that can connect with these characters in a new way. This is the purpose of these reimaginings, I think, is to help find a new voice and a new audience for these movies, and that's what makes it so successful. So I'm going to blow everyone's mind here. I'm going to go with the highest score of the group. I'm going high. I'm going high because of the way things work so well. I'm going to give it 4.5 gadgets and gizmos aplenty out of 5. Remember, that's in the context of what type of film it is, comparing it to other live action movies. This isn't a 4.5 the same way an Oscar-winning Best Picture is. But for what it is, this is a damn near perfect film, and I hope this absolutely smashes it at the box office, so it isn't considered a flop. They chicken out. They go back to their old ways. Lion King made $10 billion, but it's boring and safe and flat. This is new and exciting and exactly what these movies should be. So I really buy a ticket. If you love The Little Mermaid, you're going to love this. It's going to be the movie you love for a whole new reason, and that's awesome.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
All right, well, that is it for our review of Disney's The Little Mermaid, coming to theaters May 26th. Once again, a huge thanks to our friends at Disney Studios Canada for the early screening so we could get this review to you early and let you know if it was a wave worth riding or if a storm was coming in. I definitely think we all agree it's the former. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. If you haven't already, watch and you'll see. Someday we'll be part of your world. We can't wait to hear your thoughts on this vibrant new take on the classic fishtail. Please let us know and write in to wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or if that's a bit like being up on the shore and working all day, and you'd rather be devoting full-time to floating under the sea, you can reach us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT and on Instagram at wearegeekcentric. Keep in mind, if you want thingamabobs, or in this case, podcasts, aplenty, well, we've got way more than 20. In fact, we have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, and games, including our Fast X review, our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 review, and interviews for GOTGV3 with Chukwudi Iwuji and Sean Gunn. You don't want to miss those. Plus, if you want to get visual, you can watch those and so many more interviews and videos, including our stop-motion Little Mermaid fun boxing video on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. Be sure to like and subscribe to us there as well. And finally, our massive summer slate of reviews, interviews, and so much more is just getting started. I can hear the whip already, boys. We're getting there. But there's so much more. We can't wait to spend the blockbuster season with all of you. But until then, Justin and Nate, thank you so much for setting sail with me today. And as we say,
Love ya.
get home safe, guys.
Peace.